Good evening. Calling to order the zoning subcommittee for November 22nd, 2021. We'll all rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Janino? Here. Here. Councilor Guanasso?
Here.
Here. Councilor Sereno?
Here.
Here. Councilor Visconti?
Here.
Here. Council President Zambudo? Absent. And Chairman Keith?
Here.
Here. Chairman, the first two items on tonight's agenda, I received an email request from the applicant's attorney requesting to continue the matter.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will continue the matter, but I know that there were a few residents, and I just want to make sure that when attorneys or when applicants do ask to be pushed a little bit further down the road just to get their stuff together, I don't want to waste your time. I know there's a few residents there in the audience. So did anyone here have any, I know that one of the gentlemen lived in the area, had spoken last meeting. Anyone have any questions, or everyone's good with December 6th? It'll be December 6th at 5 p.m., I believe.
Yeah, it's either going to be 5 or 5:20.
So around about 5 p.m., 5:15 maybe. Yes. So we apologize that we got the notice just a few hours ago. I would like to have let everyone know. Okay? All right, thank you for joining. Okay, next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item on the agenda is the application of T-Mobile Northeast 15 Commerce Way, Norton, Mass., seeking permission from the Revere City Council to install a wireless communications facility to include 9 rooftop-mounted antennas and related equipment at 385 Broadway.
Is there anyone to T-Mobile? All right.
Adam Braillard with Prince LaBelle Tie, One International Place in Boston, for the applicant T-Mobile. With me, I've got a couple folks tonight with me. I guess some people are still in the, we didn't know that we were going to get started right away, but that's okay. So Scott Adams, he's with Advanced Engineering Group. He's the engineer of record. Mark Cretion was with us last Monday when we opened the hearing. Scott and Mark worked together with Advanced Engineering Group. Also with us is Peter Cook. He's right outside, but he's the site acquisition specialist. And then Ryan DeRamos is the RF engineer, and Ryan's going to be here in just a minute. So we met with the council on Monday. Briefly spoke about the application, I think, and we submitted a substantial amount of information in a supplemental and then some additional information that the council was looking for, which was a EME study. We can go through all that, or we can go through the kind of analysis of what our proposal is, or we can ask or answer any questions that the subcommittee may have, whatever pleases the committee.
Sounds good. I'll open it up to, I know that some of the committee members had some questions or wanted to make some comments. Anyone wishing to comment? Was it Madam Council McKenna?
Thank you. Some of these residents are in my ward, and they have emailed me with concerns of the noise by the generator. Right now, they're inundated with the noise from the ATM machines because it's in the back where they live. And cars pull up all hours of the night, and with loud music, slamming doors, loud noise, and they're inundated with this, and they just don't want to have an addition to their quality of life being disrupted. So, if you can answer that for me, I'd really appreciate it.
Yes. So the generator is part of the. Could try to just do a high level and try to get real specific. What most of the carriers try to do is what they call hardening projects, and that's put backup power systems in all their locations. So in the event that the lights go out for an extended period of time, they have backup power so that people can continue to use the phones. It would be great to have this here. I can say that if it's going to be a major issue with this development, that we could not install it now, or make it not part of the application if there is concern with noise. I brought that back to my client, and the response was it's part of the application. The noise levels are standard. The unit does not go off unless about 12 hours after the lights go out. So it wouldn't go on right away. There is battery backup in the equipment cabinets, but those would run out about 8 to 12 hours, and then this would be installed. So it's really a safety thing for communication. We don't have to. We can avoid it as part of the application if that pleases the council in the subcommittee. At some point, the T-Mobile may come back to the city and say, hey, we'd like to install the generator, and at that point we could address it. If we didn't install the generator, we would, and we would have to work with the landlord on this, but we would install oh, I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. We would install basically a generator set or a gen plug, a generator plug. So it would just be basically a hole where we could roll up a generator if we had to. And then we would have to work with, obviously, the building inspectional services and the landlord in the event that happens. So we could roll a generator in if there was an extended period of time without power.
Thank you very much. That makes it less complicated. The other thing is that I'm just totally against 5Gs, 6Gs, 7Gs, whatever's coming next, because of the mixed data that is presented online that says it's harmful to human beings in nature, or it's not harmful to human beings in nature. It's just like vaping. It's a great example. Vaping is a great example of that, because 5 years ago, people were saying, oh, vaping is not, it's not going to hurt anybody. It's better than smoking a pack of cigarettes. And then 5 years later, people are getting sick and they're dying. So for me, I'm sorry, but I just cannot vote for this at the time. I just can't. I'm not a firm believer of 5Gs. And being in a neighborhood like this, I just can't do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman McKenna. Councilor Zambudo? And then Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not against the generator. Let me ask you a question. So the power goes out, and your equipment has backup on it, but after how long would the generator come on?
Keep me honest here, but
How long of a power outage would
Right.
it take to create the generator to come on?
basically over 8 hours. So the battery backups would last about 8 hours.
Over 8 hours. So
Yeah,
that
8
would
to
have to
12.
be a catastrophic power failure before the generator would come on. So it would be something like, a blizzard that put out power for almost a day. What's the decibel level of this generator?
I think, Mr. Do you know the?
I don't have it off the top of my head. Scott Adams with Advanced Engineering Group. I don't have that data. I think it was supplied by the previous engineer, my partner, Mark Cretion. But it should be noted, kind of to your point, that there is an existing generator within roughly 3 feet of the proposed generator.
Right.
The proposed generator is very similar in nature to the existing. So it's not going to double the noise on site. If I yell, everyone's going to hear it. If we both yell, there's a slight uptick, but it's not double the noise. So I just wanted to make a reference that there actually is a generator already.
So there's already a generator there, and this is not going to really create any new,
Not a new point source for noise.
Right,
If the
okay.
generator, if they lose power, if
Yeah.
our generator comes on, more than likely that generator is already going to be running.
I appreciate the concerns about the generator, but I think they're unfounded. The other issues I'm not, I don't share with my colleague, but we're all up here to have our own opinions, and we all do our own research, and we all find things, sometimes we see things differently. That doesn't mean we disrespect each other or anything to that effect. But I'll be supporting this tonight because I'm in favor of having cell service when I need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a quick question relative to this turnover and what's happening. So I know the FCC recently mentioned that they're phasing out 3G. So a big part of this and why all these 5Gs are coming before us is because 3G is getting phased out. So I believe T-Mobile in particular, as of the end of March 31st, 2022, they're completely phasing out 3G in the city of Revere, but I think throughout the Commonwealth. If this doesn't go through, how will that be impacted for customers in our area that use that as service if they're discontinuing all the 3G in March?
Yeah, so the need really is because of the capacity of the system. So we have a capacity issue in this area for T-Mobile, where there's so many people utilizing the data that's, in streaming the data and making the phone calls and texting, the T-Mobile product, that it's just overloaded. So the system's overloaded, and this would reduce that incapacity and provide the capacity that the network needs, so that it would be reliable. So right now it's not reliable. So we call it not reliable coverage and capacity. There's coverage because there's radio waves here, but there's not enough capacity. So if this isn't approved, there's going to be that continued capacity issue. With respect to the 3G and phasing that out, I don't know enough about how that would work. I think it would just get worse. Right. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Serino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm rather conflicted on this because I do understand the need for increased cell service, especially these days, and I believe T-Mobile has taken over Sprint, correct? So I understand, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So I understand the need for increased service, especially in light of Sprint kind of taking all their equipment and whatnot and transferring it over to T-Mobile. However, I am kind of like Councilor McKenna in that I'm a bit, that there isn't enough research and data to show if 5G is a public health risk or, a public health issue. So I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I knew it. I was going to ask if you know how far from a residential home these antennas will be. I understand they'll be on the Citizen Bank building at 385 Broadway. How far, if you have any, how many feet from a residential home would these antennas be? That was my question.
And they're going to be up on the top, correct? All the way in the top, correct?
They're on the roof. Yeah, they're on the roof of the building.
You have Central Ave right across the street, and you have the homes behind the bank on Central as well. Probably, what are you thinking? Besides the height, you probably have about 35, 40 feet?
I think it's further than that.
Okay.
50? We were doing some measurements across the street. Those were more like 80.
Okay.
But Scott's just trying to do a quick analysis while we're here.
While you get into that, we'll get to Council Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Isn't it fair to say that there's one of the tenants of 385 Broadway is a health facility? And I'm quite surprised that the health facility hasn't shown and made an appearance before this council to voice their opinion one way or another. The objection would be in some places that health facilities would not open arms to 5G. And you would have to be naive to just suggest that when nobody in this world is unaware of 5G, because that's, you see every other commercial on TV, it's 5G is the future, 5G is this. But there isn't a damn soul who knows what the hell they're talking about. 5G is coming, okay, so is an AG, I'm here, what do they know? So there's a lot of mystery around this type of communications, and we all, every one of us in the room and everyone watching the TV have a cell phone, they have, everything's wireless. So we all rely on it. But the mystery is still out there is what health factor is given. And I know the federal government has indicated to us that that is not a concern. Well, the federal government has their opinion. I have my opinion because they've ventured a lot of opinions, in my opinion, have been completely incorrect. And so I am concerned, and I'm reliant on the new technology. Don't get me wrong, but I just can't for the life of me understand how a health facility with a world-renowned reputation doesn't make an appearance or even say anything about this. And I used to work there, so, you know, my former bosses, I'm out of there now, so I can say it.
Sure. So if we can take your questions.
My question is very
first.
simple. Has the question of public health safety been brought up by any tenants at 385 Broadway?
Okay.
And through personal recognition, email, or written document, have you received any communication from them?
So I'm going to introduce Peter Cook. I introduced him before, but Peter Cook's with Wellman Associates. He's the forward-facing person that works with the landlord and the tenants in the building. And I think that question may have.
Well, the landlord works with money. So the landlord drives his, money is his decision.
I understand that, and the landlord there was very concerned about that tenant.
Who is the landlord?
It is a company out of Beverly. I'd have to, the name escapes me right now because we did the lease a while ago. Another person in my office did it, but
I'm
I know
having a hard
part of
time
that.
understanding what you're saying. You're talking down and you got a mask
Sorry about
on.
that. So I did, we did do the lease there. I don't recall the landlord's name. It's a private entity out of Beverly. They did consult with Mass General on, which is the largest tenant there, as you know, about any concerns that they may have. Thanks, buddy. It's Goldberg Properties, actually, is the landlord name, a fellow named Ben Goldberg. And I know Ben and his staff did consult with their tenants there prior to executing the lease to make sure that any concerns that they had regarding any issue. Most commonly, it's more potentially interference issues with our radio wave frequencies with anything they might be doing in the building. So I do know that the tenants there were consulted prior to moving forward.
I'm not trying to play, make a detective here. I'm just bringing out concerns that a lot of people are aware of and want to say, and so I represent them, and I'm asking on their behalf. Thank you.
Counselor, just for the record, we did have a few residents that came to the public hearing in opposition, as well as they did submit letters.
I was there also, sir.
For the record, they submitted some letters that weren't able to attend.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, if you could enter those into the record for Mr. Chico and the Raffa family. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, how does this affect, I have two questions. First of all, how does this affect by improving your service versus Verizon?
So the T-Mobile service in this area is congested, and there's capacity issues. So someone could make a phone call, but then the phone call drops because somebody else makes another phone call. There's just not enough, signal out there in that area to address all of the traffic.
Does it bring it up comparable with Verizon?
I don't know what Verizon's capacity and coverage is in that area. I just know what the coverage and capacity is for T-Mobile here based on the propagation maps that I've seen and provided.
Now, getting back to what Councilor Ganasso was referencing with regard to potential health problems with it, we have a senior citizens building, which is pretty close to, that's probably even closer than the old McKinley School. And these are some of the concerns I have. have there been any, professional studies performed?
So we did, we provided what we call an EME, but it's a study that shows or projects what the emissions would be from this facility and whether it complies with the FCC requirements. And the study, stated that the emissions at ground level comply with all of the FCC requirements and the safety levels.
So you don't see any potential problem there with regard to public health, to not only residents, but particularly senior residents that are in that area more often than not?
Yeah, that's correct. So I started kind of explaining what 5G was a little bit last week. I'll continue. And basically, what it is, at least for T-Mobile, and every carrier has, 5G is really just fifth generation. It's what is dubbed, what all the carriers are doing in this next kind of phase, rolling out their networks, to really, because of capacity challenges these days, not so much coverage. For T-Mobile, the 5G network is simply its 600 megahertz range, which they've already been operating with. And 600 megahertz is what televisions usually operate at. So that's been around for a really long time. And they're combining that with the T-Mobile T-Mobile Sprint 2.5 range. And that's been utilized by Sprint for, a couple of decades. So it's really just a combination of those two wavelengths that would be a part of this, this application and this facility. So that's the way that it's been explained to me, and that's how I feel I can kind of explain it to the council here. So it's not anything new. It's not new technology. We're using technology that's been around for a significant amount of time, and we're putting it 65 feet or greater in the air, and trying to offset the capacity issues in the area.
So
Thank you, Counsel.
I guess you're prepared to say tonight publicly that this would have would create no potential problem with regard to people that, senior citizens who historically, as they get older, have problems with their lungs, et cetera?
So I'm a attorney, and I wouldn't be able to say that in complete certainty.
All right.
But I will say that this facility, as proposed, meets the FCC requirements.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And lastly, Councilor Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say I think 5G is coming whether we like it or not. My concern is that that generator creating some noise that some of the residents shouldn't have to endure. And if you wouldn't object having that removed from the application and then maybe revisit that later on, because I don't think it should be an issue for those residents at all, and they shouldn't have to go through that. So that would be my recommendation, and I'm not sure if anybody else agrees, but thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Visconti. Similar questions for myself. Obviously, we all can't be hypocrites. We all walk around with our cell phones and expect really good service. So we know what the technology is that makes that happen. I did have some residents. I represent that Central Ave area, or parts of that Central Ave area. They were obviously concerned mostly with the noise. Certainly, there was some health concerns, but again, I know that they probably all have a cell phone and they put it right up to their face every day. So I'm not going to play doctor tonight. What I'd like to know is there an opportunity for you the generator, can it go on the roof? Is that something that can be done? I mean, I know that you have a lot of buildings that have rooftop units and rooftop generators. At least that would be far enough away that any small noise would be less
Right.
represented.
We quickly looked at that, and it's pretty heavy. So we would need to understand the capacity of the roof in a little more detail, but that's an option. I think we landed, though, that it wouldn't be feasible, right? So we wouldn't be able to say tonight, whether or not the roof would actually hold that from a structural capacity.
So I don't want to push it, and, understanding that we're coming up to the close of the year pretty soon, but I would want to have just a few of those. I know there's a few noise concern-related questions that you could probably answer for us. I think if you can get back to us with that, I'd feel more comfortable giving you a straight vote. Otherwise, I'd probably be more apt to be not in favor this evening. So if you can help us with that, if you'd like, we can continue this matter to the next zoning subcommittee meeting. Or if we can't just go off sure. If you want to put it down that you can put it on the roof today, then that would be a different story.
Yeah, I think what we can do is take it out of the application entirely,
Take what?
the generator.
So take the generator out of the application
Right.
entirely.
And then add a generator plug.
So you'd have to come back in front of us for the generator?
I don't know if we would need to come back in front of you. I'd need to look at the zoning regulations. Right. I'm not sure if under the code, if we would have to come back in front of this group in this committee for a generator. I'd have to look at that. But we
Right,
would have
so-
to come in front of either the inspectional services or the board.
Yeah, so that's where it gets completely taken out of any of our say, so that would be a big concern of mine, so. Again, if it's the will of the council, be happy to put this up tonight, if anyone would like.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman,
Councilor Visconti?
and are we amending that?
Well, we can amend it, but we would lose any, whatever happens down the road really wouldn't be in front of us as far as the generator. They can just strike the generator today, they can come back next year or in
That's
2
fine.
months.
We
But they
can
wouldn't be
agree.
in front of us.
What do you mean it won't be in front of us?
It wouldn't be a special permit application for a generator.
Unless,
Yeah, let them take it out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Take it out.
If you can strike the generator, that would be great.
and I think the council may have the ability to make it a condition in the special permit that if the,
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll with the amendment that the generator be removed?
Shall the zoning subcommittee offer a favorable recommendation to the full city council this evening to grant the relief requested? This shall not include the installation of a generator. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Visconti?
Yes.
Yes. Council President Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Keefe?
No.
No. This has received a favorable recommendation and will be forwarded to the full city council this evening. Next item on the agenda is the special permit application of Wellness Connection of Massachusetts, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to revise and change the original site plan and the special permit conditions in the notice of decision. Application C-1512, granted on December 7th, 2015, and seeking permission to operate a commercial parking lot for the purpose of storing or parking automobiles, buses, or trucks available to the public generally on a daily basis at 44 Railroad Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I know that there's an attorney from Wellness Connection here, as well as, did the council receive there was a request for a traffic study. Did everyone on the subcommittee receive the traffic study? Yes, okay. Councilor Simeoni?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the zoning board, zoning subcommittee. My name is Attorney Larry Simeoni, and this evening I represent Wellness Connection of Massachusetts and Gunna Holding LLC. They seek special permits. One is to alter, change, revise the original site plan in accordance with 1748 100B. And the second special permit is to operate a commercial parking lot in accordance with 1708 572. The locus is known as 30 to 44 Railroad Street. It's in the TED District, 101,787 square feet, and identified as Lot A. It has 100-foot of frontage on Railroad Street, and presently the Lot A is improved by Building A, which is a non-conforming multi-use building. So when we came before you at public hearing, as I come before you this evening, essentially what we're looking to do, the applicants are looking to do, is to modify the original site plan that we've identified as Exhibit D as part of the application. This site plan was approved as part of the MMTC special permit dated December 7th, 2015. We've also taken and provided for you Exhibit A, which is a revised site plan. And that was further revised by amendment because unfortunately I had put in the wrong plan, so I had to bring back the exact plan I needed. So I added an amendment to the site plan review application, which I did and filed with this honorable body on November 15th, so that you have the right plan. This plan was done by Engineering Alliance. It's dated September 27, 21. And to modify that plan, the basis was the industrial changes and the technological advantages in the industry of the MMTC and other medical sales products. So essentially, what we proposed is a variety of different changes to the site plan. And those particular changes I identify in footnote number 9 of my application. In footnote number 9, I basically say that the changes consist of a planter and paver strip which defines the entrance per the site plan review as shown on this plan. The second change is drive aisles were modified in order to maintain the existing utility poles and to relocate fire hydrant. The third change was the dispensary gross floor area was increased from 2,500 square feet to 3,500 square feet in Exhibit A, while the former grow facility was reduced from 39,700 square feet to 4,290 square feet, wherein Building B will be removed from the site plan. The fourth change was an office was increased 2,000 square feet to 3,913 square feet. The fifth change was we required parking for all existing uses to now have 30 spaces, and the site plan provides 9 additional off-street spaces than we need. So we're providing 39 spaces. The sixth change is the easterly parking field is changed to allow for the vehicle storage for the new use, a park and fly facility, and the seventh change is a security booth was added for the park and fly use, and the eighth change was the existing hydrant is shown to be relocated. Now, under the Revere Revised Ordinance 1748-100B, we are also seeking to amend and modify special permit conditions granted in accordance with the decision you have identified as Exhibit F. This was the decision of the MMTC. It was the December 7, 2015 decision identified as 6C-1512, C-258. So in specific order, we've asked that the applicant has asked that we change condition number 2, and we show you as adding now, instead of 88 spaces that we once had, we now are saying that the parking lot shall be cleared of all trucks and trailers and shall be striped for 39 spots, including 4 spaces for handicap parking. Number 3, the former number 3 shall be changed. And again, when you look at the application, the actual change to the text is underlined. So in that particular text, we said that the site shall include pavement markings for the designated driveway entrance for two-way traffic, including pavement markings, arrows showing traffic circulation within the parking lot in accordance with the revised site plan 44 Railroad Street. This is the revised site plan that we've identified as Exhibit A. Number 6, we've made some recommendations in our proposed decision and findings, and in that particular case with number 6, we've asked that you consider accepting the language that says, number 6 is to be changed, fencing a minimum of 10 feet in height with an entrance booth shall be installed substantially as shown again on Exhibit A, which is revised site plan 44 Railroad Street, identified as 7-211-3A, Revere, dated 9/27. The 7th, condition number 7, again, we make the same recommendation for change, and that is that the site shall be appropriately illuminated, including all entrances to the building, parking lot, and entrance driveways. Illumination shall be provided by attached floodplains to the building and freestanding lights, again, as provided by revised site plan 44 Revere Railroad Street, dated September 27th, which would be Exhibit A again. And finally, we ask that we change, condition number 8, and that particular condition states that both the interior and exterior of the security cameras shall be installed at the site in accordance with the Cannabis Control Commission and the Revere Police Department requirements. Finally, we also ask that the remaining land that's left over now, that if the honorable body sees fit to allow the change of the original site plan and allow the change of the special permit conditions, there'll be a basis of land that we would like to dedicate and have proposed to dedicate to a commercial parking facility of approximately 220 cars. The modifications, as I noted, clearly just take the 88 spaces that we once had and reduced it to 39, which is more than we need for the existing MMTC use, leaving the balance of area, as I said, for the park and fly location. We have a traffic study. We have submitted that traffic study to this honorable body. The particular traffic study, I don't want to read the whole traffic study, Mr. Chairman. It's been submitted to you for your review, but I just want to highlight point number 3 made by Mr. Dirks from Vanessa and Associates. Mr. Dirks says, in comparison to the approved marijuana grow facility and dispensary that was to occupy a portion of the project site, the proposed park and fly facility and reduced development program from the grow facility and dispensary will result in significant reduction in traffic volumes, up to 59% over the uses that were approved, and as such will be less impactful on the transportation industry and infrastructure. I think, Mr. Dirks has said it relatively eloquently and efficiently that there'll be no effect from traffic from the new proposal before this honorable body. Last but not least, I've submitted to this honorable body proposed decisions and findings of fact. I'd ask you to review them and accept them and adopt them, wherein they've they take into consideration all the facts and conditions provided by the Site Plan Review Commission of November 16, 2001. And so between those and our recommended findings, we'd ask this honorable body to approve adopt and approve those, and to send this matter to the full body this evening for approval for the site plan and for these special permits requested. I have Mr. Rick Salvo from Engineering Alliance with me this evening. He is the engineer of record and can answer any specific questions as to the plans and or the proposal. Mr. Salvo is here for your opportunity to ask. Other than that, I stand ready to answer any other question, Mr. Chairman, that you may have or any member you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I open this up, I know that there's some neighbors in the audience. I'm sure you wish to speak.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Christopher Agostino, counsel for Burbank Realty LLC and Durant Performance Coatings, direct abutters to the site of the proposed commercial parking lot. Here in opposition tonight to the special permit for the proposed commercial park and fly operation at this location. My colleague Michael Rosen has submitted a memo to the commission or to the committee articulating some of our concerns and hopefully spelling out why the proposal does not satisfy the requirements to operate such a facility at this location. But I think the answer lies in a close review of the one plan or the one-page site plan that was submitted to this committee in an effort to get your approval. A look at that site plan shows critical deficiencies that exist both on the site and off the site that are going to create serious problems that have already been demonstrated in some of the photos of this particular operation at this site, which are included in the materials that my colleagues submitted. But a quick look at the plan shows critical elements of a park and fly facility that are missing. There's no layout of turning movements for any vehicles in that layout. It shows 220 cartoon depictions of vehicles without any dimensions, without any details, and without turning movement radius for either emergency vehicles or the cars using those parking spaces. And frankly, if you look at that plan, it's simply not feasible to get cars in some of the locations that were depicted. Beyond that, the plan does not include any provision for snow storage, okay? Which is gonna take up a lot of parking spaces, and there's no amendment for the number of vehicles that may be stored there over the winter. There's no provision for a shelter for people using the facility. There's no bathroom facilities. There's no detail on handicap parking spaces for people that might be using the facility that have handicap accessibility issues. These details should be included in detail sheets attached to a plan like that. Instead, we're presented with a one-page site plan without any details. Beyond that, to operate a commercial parking facility, you need, at a minimum, a basic stormwater management plan. This proposal doesn't include any provision for oil water separators, no provision for an operation and maintenance plan that shows when it's going to be swept. The city of Revere has an MS4 permit, which is a municipal small sewer system that the city has to apply to the EPA in order to discharge stormwater. And in that permit, you obligate yourselves, when you're approving a facility like this, to do a stormwater management analysis. And that doesn't exist here. So the proposed facility is going to be discharging unfiltered, uncleaned, untreated water to the sewer system in violation of the city's permit. So that's a critical oversight.
First, I appreciate your presentation. Just, those are in the conditions. And as you know, any approval that would be before this body, the town or the city has all of those boards that have to approve all of that. So, but I agree with your concern. We wouldn't want anyone to be able to operate without doing those things.
Well, I think that the fact that there's a one-page site plan that doesn't include the details that we need to show compliance with that is evidence of a clear oversight. Beyond that, I think the pictures that you have before you in my colleague's letter depict what happens when you propose or when you operate a poorly designed, poorly thought out commercial parking facility at a location in an industrial zone. You have pictures of people getting off the red eye tired after a long flight, walking around with their luggage trying to find where to go next, where their pickup's going to be, where their car is. And also included in that package are comments from the users of that facility when it was operated as an illegal parking facility that described their displeasure with the services that were provided as a result of poor planning. And I think that's the concern that we have here, and we feel as though that upon a thorough review of the real consequences for operating a commercial parking facility at this location, it's going to become readily apparent that it is more detrimental to the neighbors and the existing use. To have that type of operation and those type of people coming off a long flight looking for these types of plans, and there's no detail on how that's going to be operated. There's no plan and operation and maintenance plan showing where cars are going to be queued up, how many cars can be queued up in a row, where is the section on the site plan where those cars can be queued up. And I was glad to hear that the engineer was here tonight because I'd like to ask questions about turning movements, which is a very basic question when you're proposing a site plan for parking. Has the fire department weighed in? And you mentioned that all these other agencies are going to weigh in, but when is that going to happen? So those are the on-site concerns. And then off-site, just this afternoon, we received a traffic report from Van Ness and Associates, and I'm glad to see that they were consulted, but that is not a traffic study, all right? That was a memo that was prepared that simply opined on trip generation. Now, number one, we disagree with the conclusion on trip generation, but number two, a traffic study, which is what your bylaw requires, takes a look at all the surrounding intersections, takes a look at traffic collisions that have occurred in the neighborhood surrounding the proposed use, and what exactly the proposed use is going to, what type of effect it's going to have on those surrounding areas, and none of that was included in the memo, and that needs to be a precondition to any approval that study is done in order to fully figure out whether or not it's going to have a detrimental impact. So at a minimum, without that information, I believe just in looking at this plan and looking at the materials that my colleague provided, you have photographs of why it's more detrimental on the surrounding neighborhood, and particularly the impact on my client's abutting property. But at a minimum, I think this warrants a continuance so that things like turning movements, a full traffic study, additional depiction of how emergency vehicles are going to get in and out of here, how these vehicles that are supposedly going to be parked here will be in and out of here, because without a good plan, what you're going to get is the pictures that were already shown in the submittal, showing cars stacked up, people wandering around, and the conclusion there is that that's more detrimental and it cannot satisfy your special permit requirements, and therefore we ask that the permit be denied.
Thank you for your comments. And just to reiterate, the engineering department, the DPW, and the fire department will be reviewing any potential future site work, and that goes through them, and they're extremely, extremely detailed. So I just want to make sure that for yourself and for the viewing audience, that when we approve anything, it's always with the consideration that the fire department, the DPW, and the proper authorities inside of our city are going to do their due diligence. And if anything, we typically get back from applicants that they do a little too much due diligence because there's always a little bit of a complaint. But I'll open it up to some of the council, if any of the council wishes to speak on the matter.
Mr. Chairman, what are your intentions? Is this going to committee or?
This is in committee, this is only subcommittee.
Well, maybe it should stay in committee?
Well, I'd love, we have engineers here, we have parties from both sides, it's probably a good opportunity to
Yeah,
answer
I'd like to hear
questions.
more on this.
Wonderful. Okay, I'd like to ask some questions.
Well, we're members of the
Councilor
subcommittee.
Galasso.
As far as I'm concerned, members of the subcommittee always have the voice first, and my brothers and sisters who join us can offer their concerns. Have you ever seen Wonderland Dog Track?
I have been to Wonderland.
And could you imagine how they queue in there? There's like 15,000 cars parked. How they do it, don't ask me. But when I go by there, it's the seventh wonder of the world. And I say, how do they do that? So it's, in terms of how you're going to queue, these professional people that do this for a living already know what they're doing with that. And as far as a concerned traveler coming back with their luggage, I'm sure that if this business was running in a proper fashion, if they want to generate income in the future, they would have the proper people there waiting for them to retrieve their cars and give them a service of quality, or the place won't go into business. People won't go there. Word of mouth and with the Facebook and all that type of technology, this business would be ruined. There are concerns that you might have and addressed in some of the issues that we got today in site plan review and some of the revisions, I think are beneficial to the area. But you speak and you rise to the occasion, sir, as if you're coming to a place that's already perfect. I've been to that location several times, reviewing it, Railroad Ave. It needs some help. And if this gentleman is going to come forward and provide proper surfacing and any improvement in that area would be a plus. So I mean, and I understand your client has had this property in conjunction with this other property for years and years and years. I'm one of the longest serving members of the city council, and they've had it since I've known it. And as far as I know, there hasn't been one improvement at all in that location. So this particular situation, if it's given the occasion to at least clean it up, as stated by the chair, we're going to have every agency in the city down there. You're now going to get some recognition that's probably deserving. You're going to have city agencies going down there to make certain that it's safe is number one. And so I know your clients are making noise, but in commenting on what I have to say, but it's true. You've had the property for years, and that's true. Okay.
Councilor Guanasso.
Well, anyway, I'm not going to confer with the people in attendance, but what I will say is, any improvement down there would be a plus for our city. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you, and I know a few other councilors. I just want to wish to say that, we can talk about this project, but let's not lose focus, and we're not going to go tearing anyone else down to bring some up, okay? Thank you. Councilor Zambudo.
Mr. Chairman, I think we want to ask questions of the person proposing this, not the opponent. It's never been my case that we look to the opponents to ask questions. I'm looking to the people that are proposing this project, and let's ask the questions we need to ask of them.
Councilor, ask away. He just happens to be at the mic, and he was the last to speak.
Well, and I think
Ask
he
away,
stated his
Councilor.
case, and
Council President.
that's enough for me.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. President. I just want to point out that the Site Plan Review Committee provides this honorable body recommendations and has served such recommendations on November 16th, 2021 to the city clerk. And just so you know, these recommendations go to the issue that everybody seems concerned about. The recommendations are as follows.
We have the recommendations, everyone on this.
But I think someone needs to read them in the record, no disrespect to
No,
the chair.
I understand, and
And maybe the clerk can do that.
Madam Clerk, would you please
Thank
read them
you.
to the
Thank you
record?
very much, Madam Clerk.
Any other councilors before she reads them to the record? Councilor Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I can have Councilor Simeoni, I just have a couple of quick questions. Condition number 6, you say is an entrance booth. Can you explain what, I'm sorry, I'm not too, I don't know what you mean by an entrance. Is it where people are staying or waiting? What do you mean by that?
I imagine that as a gated entrance to come in where like a parking lot attendant would sit. Is that correct?
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Councilor Visconti, Vice President of the Council. It's a fencing of a minimum of 10 feet in height with an entrance booth shall be installed substantially as shown on the plan. The entrance booth will be for staff to allow the vehicles to be taken in and out and assist people during any park and fly activity.
Thank you.
All right, I just have one other question. In relative to some of the pictures that we did receive, can you explain, I know there are some pictures of people staying there right now that were there. I don't know when that was taken or what the situation was, but can you explain to this body what was going on there and what happened?
Yeah, I mean, through you, Mr. Chairman, again to the Vice President of the Council, my client, as this body knows, filed for a park and fly in 2020, and we withdrew the application because at that time, there were some technical issues such as removing the original site plan and making some changes there and so forth. And so we wanted to go back and do it right, and that was one issue. The other issue is during the pandemic, my client, who has a small little hotel, felt he became in need of extra parking to assist that little hotel. And for the interim, he started using some of the location at this location. We have talked to the Site Plan Review Committee about this, and we told them that we fully intended to file a special permit with this honorable body and to attain the appropriate relief. And as far as I'm concerned, that's where the Site Plan Review Committee, or at least that's where my discussion with the Site Plan Review Committee and the zoning administrator ended at our last site plan review. So we're here to basically make what should have been done maybe a couple of months ago. We're here to do it right. But again, it's really important for you to know that the pandemic has taken so much of little hotel owners and stuff like that. And so we wanted to do it right. I've had the pleasure of representing Matt Philbin for many years, and he always puts his best foot forward. And I mean by making sure we have the right engineers, we make sure we have the right proposal, and we always work with our ward councilman. And so again, that's my answer to the gentleman from...
One other question, if you don't mind.
Quickly.
One quick question. Is there going to be a place on site where people can congregate and wait for those rides, or sort of like so we can avoid, like something so we can avoid people just waiting outside, the fence for a pickup or whatnot? Is there? Is that going to be?
I think that's
built?
certainly something that my client would consider. If you want to make it a condition that there should be some exterior, at least shelter.
Yes.
If you want to add that as a condition, that would be more than helpful.
I would like that.
Thank you. Councilor McKenna, and we are getting a little close, so.
Thank you. I found your conversations,
Madam
your
Clerk, I'm sorry.
valid point that the lawyer, I don't know his name, I don't know his name, but I found some of your points valid. But I've been dealing with Matt Philbin for the last 6.5 years, and every time I ask him to help the community, he's there, always. We had 3 fires in Ward 1. He housed the fire victims for less than nothing. We asked for a fence for a community garden, and he spent over $10,000 providing that fence. He's been a great asset to the community of Revere. Silent, but great asset. You ask him for anything, he comes through. Durant Paint. I don't even hear your name at all, giving to the city, donating to the city. I mean, if
Counselor.
I'm wrong,
Counselor, let's just
okay.
keep it straight.
So
Thank
I
you.
just think that the property is a dead-end property. It's not viewed by the public. It's not residential, okay? It's, the only time you can see it is from the bridge. And I think it's gonna bring in revenue, and it's gonna be great for the city. So I'm definitely in favor of this. I think there should be modifications made, yes. But I I'm definitely in favor of this.
Thank you, Counselor. And if I could just state a few of my comments. One is I would very much be in favor of adding the stipulation that there would be some form of a shelter or a site for the attendees to stay while they're waiting for their vehicle. And yes, I received the traffic report. It was good, but it was probably, I would agree that there could be a little bit more done. So I would ask that maybe a little bit more of a vigorous traffic study be included before this is completed. And lastly, I think there were significant improvements to what was on the site prior. There's no one on this council that's probably said no to this applicant than me. I've always been on the opposite side, so it's not like I'm here as someone that's always going to say yes. But I feel like this is a better proposal. My biggest concerns were the security of the site. The people not in favor had raised some of those concerns. I felt like the security of the site was important. I think that they've answered all of those questions, and I think having a live attendee is very important too, and that would answer one of my biggest questions. So with that being said, if we're able to agree to a little bit more of a vigorous traffic study, I would appreciate that, and also adding in Councilor Visconti's stipulation that there would be a form of a shelter for people waiting for their vehicles.
Mr. Chairman? Oh,
Have no problem adding those two conditions as part of the conditions of the special permit. That we will ask our council, we'll ask our consultant to do additional study work that would satisfy this council, and at the same time put a shelter as
Understood.
requested by Councilor Visconti.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman?
Councilors, just so you know, we're coming into the
I know.
regular
I just
regular
want to
meeting.
add something.
Councilor McKenna, then Councilor Rotundo.
So he did, the lawyer did say about storm water runoff, which that is important because I think there's, I don't know,
Yeah,
wetlands around there.
Yeah, so what I was trying to get to was to have the clerk read the conditions
Okay.
by the site plan review committee.
Well, since
The
we're
clerk
running at
has-
6
The
o'clock,
clerk has 10 conditions.
is one of them handicap access?
One of them is water, sewer, and stormwater management plan must be approved by the city engineer and the DPW chief of infrastructure. Another one is that the parking layout or layout shall be reviewed by the fire department respecting fire safety. And basically, a standing accessory sign shall be installed as identified in the revised site plan and with the approval of the site plan review committee. Fencing shall be installed around the perimeter of the commercial lot with a security gate at the commercial lot entrance as represented again on the site plan, a revised site plan. And the entrance drive shall include signage designating entrance and exit drives. So these are just a handful, actually, of the conditions that looked upon. A final landscape plan must be approved by the site plan review committee. A final as-built plan must be approved for
Council,
all
we have-
parking
thank
spaces
you.
and so forth.
Attorney Simeone, I agree, and I know she asked, but we have them in our packet.
All right,
I just
thank
gave
you.
it to her. Thank you. Councilor Rotundo, and then, real brief, Councilor Rotundo, and then, yep.
Thank you. Just to kind of add light to this issue, we have a capital waste service that, by looking at it, has at least 40 trucks there. You have the Hampton Inn, which has hundreds of vehicles there. This is a highly, highly trafficked area. Need for additional traffic study, I don't know who we're impacting. The easement is used for tractor trailers to come in and out by the neighboring building, which is seen here. On the opposite side, you can absolutely go on Google Maps and look at it yourself. Councilor Sereno, I'm sure you can see the tractor trailers right there that are not on the property of this gentleman's here, or for that matter, the tractor trailers that are by Durant Paint, or for that matter, those that are over at Capital Waste,
Councilor.
which are numerous. So with that said, I would hope this body would vote favorably with conditions. I would hope that the city would finally pave Railroad Street, since it's been an unpaved street for the last 4 decades. But you know, this is, again, a heavily trafficked street that is used by tractor trailer, Atlantic equipment, and again, also the electric company. So there are many issues here.
Thank you, Counselor. Real brief.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I would just sincerely ask that you at least continue this to see a revised plan and at least give the opportunity for the applicant and the direct abutter to have serious discussions and to avoid a lot of trouble that is going to ensue because this project, as proposed, is simply not feasible, and a continuance will allow that discussion to take place.
Thank you for your comments. Well, while I do agree, and while I understand the comments, I just feel that there's been a lot of opportunity to get on the same page. I don't know why. It does seem like it's the Hatfields and McCoys over there, but I'm not going to get in the middle of that. I'm willing to vote on this evening, Madam Clerk. I think the fellow councilors as well.
Roll call from
What the conditions,
subcommittee.
Madam Clerk?
Roll
What the
call from
conditions?
subcommittee.
Roll call of the zoning subcommittee. Please remember that the added conditions of the shelter installed for the purpose of clients utilizing the Park and Fly service has been added, as well as Councilor McKenna's amendment.
Point of information?
Parking lot and the shelter shall be handicap accessible.
Point of information, they do have an actual shelter down there that they have someone in and out of. I know it because I parked my car there when I went to visit my uncle. So, just to let you know, they already have one.
Thank you, Councilor.
And the other condition that a new traffic study will be presented to site plan review. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Visconti?
Yes.
Yes. Council President Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Keefe?
Yes.
Yes, the special permit will be forwarded to the full city council this evening, subject to the findings and conditions set forth.
We have one last piece of business for the zoning subcommittee, and I do apologize, Mr. President, for stepping into meeting. 2 applications, 2 more pieces.
Next up is the proposed zoning amendment by Enterprise Rent-A-Car, seeking an amendment of the zoning ordinances to allow by special permit an automotive truck rental office and storage use in the HB district.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Attorney Nick Zazula, McDermott, Quilty, and Miller. With me is Doug Valeri, who's with Operations for Enterprise. I can be very brief. I know this has been a long night already. Enterprise is looking to move its long existing location. They are at 55 American Legion Highway. They've been there just shy of 20 years. They're looking to move from 55 American Legion Highway to 85 Squire Road. This is a former Verizon retail store on Squire Road between roughly the Wendy's and the IHOP, if you go by where your restaurants are, like I do. They need to relocate from American Legion Highway because the landlord is developing the property at the existing location and their lease is up. 85 Squire Road is located in a highway business subdistrict, HB. Under the zoning ordinance in an HB district, this type of use, which is an automotive truck rental office and storage use, is not permitted under the zoning ordinance. So what's being proposed is a change to the zoning ordinance to amend it and allow this use in the HB district by special permit. So the amendment is not to allow this by right, it's to allow it by special permit, which will allow the city to have major oversight and review of any type of application in the HB district. We've worked with the planning board on very specific conditions and restrictions, which I'm happy to go over, to ensure that this type of use, which would be allowed by special permit, does have protections and oversight by the city in any instance where it came before the board. Currently, the use is allowed by special permit only in the TED and PDD1 districts. So this would allow them to proceed further with an amendment, and then if that was approved by special permit, they would have to come back for a special permit. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Anyone on the zoning subcommittee have any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Council Guanasso.
Mr. Chairman, this happens to be in the ward that I represent. What this would do, Mr. Chairman, in the particular area, would open up that whole area and Socios and Verizon, and it would make it a huge parking lot for trucks. And in my opinion, it's not a good use for the property, based on the fact that we've spent the last 15 to 20 years trying to beautify that area. we spent a ton of money fixing and beautifying that circle. We tried to work with all the businesses on that Squire Road. But to put this there would be an insult to everybody. In terms of, we know what's coming in the future, right up the road, in the old cinema site. When I see the caravan of trucks coming from the old site, and I see prime trucks, 15 in a row coming up, when I get in the car and I see that, I want to drive right through them, because it's made such a mess of our city. You know, nobody else wanted these people. Our city opened arms to them and said, this is the greatest thing in the world. Braintree didn't want them, not this group. The other group to get the...
On the project, Council.
The other project, yeah.
On this project.
On this particular project, this would add insult to injury, and I would be dead set against it. Thank you.
Councilor. Council President Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is certainly not my vision for what Squire Road should be. You know, my colleague talked about how we beautified that area. It took a long time. It was a blighted area, especially the landscaping and everything. And there's restaurants there. There will soon to be a hotel there. This is not my vision for what should be there. And frankly, I consider this spot zoning. And I'm totally against it. I'm totally against spot zoning, and I'm totally against this project. No offense to you people. I know you got a job to do. I also have a job to do. I represent these people, and that's not my vision for what should be there. Thank you.
Councilor Visconti, Council Vice President Visconti. Then we'll go Serino and Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to concur with my colleagues. To just take a look at the property at McClellan Highway and seeing that on Squire Road to some degree, I just don't see it. I don't think it's the best use for that property. It's not what we anticipated going there, and I couldn't support that this evening or whenever it comes up again, if it was to. So, yes, not something that I want to see there. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Serino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I echo the previous speakers, and although it is Ward 3, Squire Road, Councilor Gunasso and I share Squire Road, and it abuts my neighborhood and my ward. And we have coming online in the back of Northgate a rental car storage facility, but that's kind of hidden, and that's way in the back. I think this being right on Squire Road, there are definitely better uses for that property than a rental car facility. But I would be, and I don't mean to steal Councilor Rotundo's question, but I would be curious as to why you guys are looking to move from American Legion Highway to Squire Road.
Their tenants redeveloping the property.
Right, which
or their
begs-
landlord is
Landlord, correct.
Which begs the question, what are they planning to?
Right.
Who is the owner of 55 American Legion Highway, and what are their intentions?
We can't speak to that, sir. We don't represent them. Yeah.
Council Rotundo.
Thank you. Who is the LLC that owns the property currently over on McClellan Highway?
Again, we're not here for McClellan. We're here for Squire Road. We don't
Right, so
represent-
you don't know?
No, sir.
For Enterprise, exact, okay. That's fine. You're just here to represent the order change. I can tell you right now, my thinking is in line with the rest of the council. This is spot zoning, and more importantly, it's not the vision of the community. I would contact the people over at Wonderland.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilor Powers.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman, as far as American Legion Highway, that property is owned by Channel Development from Wilmington, Mass., and they are in the process right now of rebuilding the entire area that they own. As a matter of fact, they were the ones that were responsible for bringing the mini mall into the Wonderland area, where it's right now, at the Bell Circle area. So Paul Nealand is his name, and he's from Channel Development, and he plans on rebuilding the the bank down there, and a brand-new building down there. So we're very happy with the things he's planning down there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, I like Enterprise, I like Hertz, I like them all. We don't love them on Squire Road, and I guess that's
Understood.
really what it's gonna come down to.
No, understood. I mean, we, you know, with regard to the spot zoning and the location, we did work on some very specific conditions to make sure that this was, but
But when
I'm
we
not
look-
gonna, I'm not gonna make an argument
Yeah.
that's not gonna win here,
Yeah,
so.
when we- yeah, exactly.
We're not gonna
Well,
waste your time with
We can
that, so we
that.
appreciate it. Yep.
So would you like to withdraw?
Well, no, we'd like to, I think
Okay.
we'd like to have you make a vote because we
Okay.
need that, yeah.
We're gonna take a roll call.
We would request a vote,
Okay.
please.
Roll call.
Call, Mr. Chairman.
On the zoning amendment, Counselor Janino?
No.
No. Counselor Guanasso?
No.
No. Counselor Sereno?
No.
No. Counselor Visconti?
No.
No. Counsel President Zambudo?
No?
No. And Chairman Keefe?
No.
No.
Thank you for your time.
And lastly, zoning change on Revere Street, on the application of 128 Revere Street Realty Trust, changing the designation from RB to GB.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and I believe Mr. Bonfiglio is here. Just for the record, during the public hearing, opponents, pro-opponents, we had only favorable recommendations from the neighborhood. There were no opponents. Mr. Bonfiglio, if you could, 15 seconds or less?
I'm going to keep it very brief. I'm here to answer any questions that you may or may not have. You've already had a chance to look at the request as well as the map, and we're just looking for an extension, a continuation of use.
Any councils?
Mr. Chairman, prior to
Councilor
a roll
Guanasso.
call, this is in my ward, and I am very much in favor. Bonfiglio Funeral Parlor has been good neighbors to the whole, under trying situation. The neighborhood did not come up and rise to the occasion to vote their opinion against this particular issue, so I would ask that the city council vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Madam Clerk?
On the zoning amendment, Counselor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Visconti?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel President Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Keefe?
Yes.
Yes, the zoning amendment has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our zoning subcommittee for November 22nd. Thank you for your leeway, Mr. President.